A lot of you are not going to like this news. Let's just be real. But the WBC have cleared Conor Benn regarding his failed tests for clomiphene. They issued a lengthy statement, which I won't read in its entirety. I'll just get down to the crux of it. They said here, there was no conclusive evidence that Mr. Benn engaged in intentional or knowing ingestion of clomiphene. And they also said that Mr. Benn's documented and highly elevated consumption of eggs during the times relevant raised a reasonable explanation for the adverse finding. Now, I know this is not going to go down well with a lot of you because some of you at least have done your own independent research and you've come to the conclusion that excessive consumption of eggs is not a plausible explanation because he would have to be eating, several dozen eggs a day? And many of you guys just don't buy that. You don't think he would be eating that many eggs. And also, apparently, clomiphene is illegal in the UK to be used by farmers, as in given to chickens. So how would Conor Benn, a British-based fighter, end up with that in his system when it's illegal in the UK? But I guess the counter-argument would be, is it possible that because farmers in the UK may be using it illegally, that they're using much larger amounts per chicken than would be the case in a country where it is legal? And therefore, that would mean Conor Benn maybe wouldn't have to consume so many eggs? I'm just playing devil's advocate here in the interest of fairness. You guys let me know what you think about that. How Conor Benn would prove that to the WBC, I'm not exactly sure. They don't go into details regarding how he's managed to prove that to their satisfaction or if he's proved it at all. But there you go. That is the WBC's ruling. And as such, Conor Benn is being reinstated into their rankings with immediate effect. Well, Eddie Hearn's, of course, smiling from ear to ear about it and saying, oh, finally, the ruling has come and he's been vindicated and all this kind of stuff. And you can expect something similar from Conor Benn. I mean, all the way through this process, Conor Benn has been saying that he's been vindicated and saying that it's going to be so sweet when people have to eat their words and, all the stuff that Conor Benn's been coming out with. I'm sure you guys remember. But the British Boxing Board of Control are standing firm. Okay, they've put out their own statement and they've said that the WBC's decision does not affect their investigation of Conor Benn. It says, the British Boxing Board of Control is aware that the WBC concluded its own review into at least one of the two positive findings and reached its own decision, published today, 22nd of February 2023. For clarity, whilst the British Boxing Board of Control wishes to make clear that it respects the WBC is a sanctioning body and not a governing body. The British Boxing Board of Control was the governing body with whom Mr. Benn was licensed at the material time. And as such, any alleged anti-doping violation shall be dealt with in accordance with its rules and regulations. The British Boxing Board of Control has adopted the UK anti-doping rules published by UK Anti-Doping, and those formed part of the rules to which Mr. Conor Benn was bound. As such, the decision of the WBC does not affect the ongoing implementation of the British Boxing Board of Control rules and those of UKAD. The UK anti-doping rules make clear what conduct constitutes an anti-doping rule violation as defined in those rules and in the World Anti-Doping Code, and specifically set out the circumstances in which such violations can be committed by way of strict liability. All right, so that's what the British Boxing Board of Control is saying. This doesn't change anything as far as they're concerned. They want to see that document, whatever it was, 260 pages, that Conor Benn submitted to the WBC. And it's very interesting, isn't it? We've all been asking the question, why did Conor Benn submit this document to the WBC and not to the British board? What's that all about? They keep, and by they I mean Conor Benn's team, talking about how the British board had nothing to do with the first test. Well, they don't say the first test or the second test. They just keep saying the British board have got nothing to do with it. But of course, that's very misleading and disingenuous. They had nothing to do with the first test because of the fact it was in the WBC clean boxing program. And that was separate to the Eubank Jr. fight. But for the Eubank Jr. fight, the VADA testing conducted during that build-up was not conducted by the WBC under their program. It was signed up for independently by Team Eubank and Team Benn. The WBC clean boxing program wasn't involved in the second test. Let's just get that clear, because Team Benn, Eddie Hearn, etc. have been trying to muddy the waters regarding that. So it is what it is. Conor Benn cleared by the WBC, reinstated in their rankings. Eddie Hearn grinning from ear to ear. Conor Benn, I'm sure, will be coming out, taking shots at anybody who doubted him. But hey, you guys come to your own conclusions. Do your own research. If you don't believe that this is a plausible explanation, I don't know. If you look at this thumbnail here, next to the Eddie Hearn video where he's, talking about Conor Benn being cleared, it's got Gareth A. Davis, right? And it says here, Conor Benn got away with it, people will say. Yeah, I think the majority of British boxing fans are going to say that Conor Benn got away with it. And they're going to say that this is a travesty. They're also going to make comparisons with Canelo, because Canelo failed a test several years ago, and the WBC were cool with what he said, I think. Canelo Alvarez said that it was the beef that he was eating that contained whatever substance. But to his credit, Canelo Alvarez apparently did the hair follicle test. Has Conor Benn done the hair follicle test? Because supposedly the hair follicle test will tell you how long, or give you some indication of how long this substance has been in the person's system. Has Conor Benn done that test? And if not, why not? That's a question that maybe some of you guys would like someone, Coogan or whoever else has access to Eddie Hearn, to put to him, or put to Conor Benn. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about this news. Conor Benn cleared by the WBC. Are you sick and tired of the mainstream mindset? Does the dogmatic conformity and pathological ignorance have you tearing your hair out in frustration? Then don't be alone. Come and join our brotherhood on Patreon. We stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. You'll gain access to my weekly topical podcast, where we take more deep dives than Jacques Cousteau on an endless variety of subjects. There's also videos, interviews, live Q&As, as well as a vast back catalogue of previous episodes, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen via the Patreon app or download in high-quality MP3. Connect with myself and hundreds of other members in our Element chat group. There's no contract, no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a Mickey D's McMuffin. Just head to my Patreon page via the link below this video and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. I'll see you over there.